Hello, and welcome to another edition of Extra Connections here on JLJ Media. I am the JLJ of JLJ Media, James Lott Jr., and welcome to the show. I have some great guests coming on. We're always trying to connect with people who are doing amazing things. And these people are Emmy nominated. They come in, they do a film, and get nominated for an Emmy. Okay, sure. Okay, that's how it works. But here we're going to talk to them. So I'm going to tell you collectively what they can do for you. This is what they can do, folks. Authors, writers, directors, producers, casting, production design. That's just a few things they can do. And they actually put together a film that got them a notice. And I'll make sure I say it correctly. It's Rekindling Christmas. Yes, we love Christmas. We're going to talk about Christmas and how lucrative that is. Christmas is great. So a movie called Rekindling Christmas that got them a daytime Emmy nomination. I was like, okay, folks. They also have a film called No More Goodbyes. It's about that also. And it's about where they're from, what they're doing, and what's like being content creators and being partners in life as well as in creativity. James and Rebekah Ganiere. How are you guys?
Great. How are you?
Fabulous.
Yeah. I like you guys. You guys are great. So before I get started, little church announcements. We are JLJ Media. I have to do this, of course. People come. There's a button down here somewhere. It's either here or I point it the wrong direction. But it says subscribe on it. So be kind and subscribe to me if you don't subscribe already. If you're new to my channel, I have over 35 shows to choose from the soaps to Star Wars to being left-handed and being a grandparent. So check any of those out and see what we're talking about. And if you like them, pass them on to other people. And then also we're on the audio landscape. Hello, podcast listener. And you can listen to us on anything from iHeartRadio, Spotify, to Google, to Apple, Deezer, Podbean. We're everywhere you want to be. Yes, I stole that from American Express. But we're everywhere you want to be. And please share, like. So I'm going to stay there. And so my guest, first I want to ask you guys, how are you doing today?
We're doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Actually, it's a little warm in LA, a little warm for me right now. It was getting cooler a few days ago. I was like, thank you very much. And now it's kind of amped back up. I was in the garden earlier, tending to my garden, and because things were dying. So I had to kind of talk to them and say, please don't die, please don't die. So we're doing fine today. They're still alive. Now, are you guys, so where are you guys based? So I read something in your bio. I want to make sure I have it correctly where you're based.
We keep moving around so people can't find us.
Okay. That's how it should be, right? I think what's going on. So yes, I love it.
We're everywhere.
Yay, I like that. But what I wanted to ask you guys are you guys from LA at all originally or no?
I was born in LA and then I was raised in Virginia, Connecticut, Idaho, and moved back when James and I got married. He's from here, been here, here's here.
Okay. So
yeah, I'm from Orange County, Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, and then, traveled the world and all that fun stuff and lived a few different places. And then, of course, we're back here in SoCal.
Because I read somewhere in your bio somewhere that there's Bakersfield has a place in there somewhere too.
Yeah.
Education there. You're just education stuff there.
Yeah, when I was going around doing corporate overhauls and turnarounds and that, one of the assignments was there and overhauled a temp agency, and that was a great experience. And then really kind of found this love of Bakersfield and been working with the kids in the after school programs for 15 years now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've been doing some pretty cool stuff for thousands of kids.
Bakersfield I've been there many times. I know the Central Valley, I know the 99, I know the 5, I know all those stuff. I lived in Sacramento for years. I know Sacramento, Modesto, Fresno, I know all those places. How do you find Bakersfield these days? It's growing, isn't it? I think it's starting to grow, isn't it?
Bakersfield is like really sprawled out. It's interesting watching it kind of, it's a really old city. With the oil fields, and J. Paul Getty being, the first oil well that was, here and that in Bakersfield, but it just kind of is like spread out. And so now it looks like it's going to reach all the way out to the 5 freeway, instead of just, based around the 99 freeway. And so I've been watching it kind of grow up, over, the past couple decades.
They need to expand the 99 freeway. It was 2 lane for a while. It was just 2 lanes. It's crazy talk. It was always like we have from Sacramento to LA. We have 2 choices. We could drive down the boring 5 or go down 99. And it's just 9. I just took for, it's like, just go to 5. It's faster. Just once you get to the 5, you can get down here. But the 99, whoo, sometimes on a certain day, it's a little rough.
Well, they're doing all the bypass work now on the 99 because they're trying to, from east to west, they're trying to make it easier.
Oh, good.
So the 99 has so much construction going on because they're building everything to go that way across the 99.
Yeah, they got the West Side Parkway, which
they've got a few big thoroughfares they're putting through that are cause the 99 to slow down quite a bit actually through Bakersfield.
Yeah, way overdue, but really great job that they're doing. It's a beautiful freeway. I know that's kind of weird to say it's a beautiful freeway, but you start seeing like, you know, the work that they're putting into it and the overpasses, the decor and that. They're really putting a lot of heart into it.
Yeah. So, folks, that was your California portion of the show. Just make sure you get that. You're like, I'm from New York. I don't know what does this mean. No. But for you California, you know what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? It's all about our freeways and everything here in California, northern and southern and central. It's all about that. But I want to ask you guys, well, first is, did you ever think it was possible, just in your adult life, even your childhood adult life, that you would be in the Hollywood, I put in quotes, because Hollywood means anywhere at this point, it could be anywhere, in the television film industry? Was that always possible for you? I mean, I grew up in LA. My father's best friend is Richard Dreyfuss, so I knew stars growing up. Like I knew you could step on a star, you know, in LA. That's how it is. But I'm just wondering, did you think it was possible for yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, from the time I was 5, I was just like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do and stuff. But I had zero connection to it, you know, so I was definitely one of those kids that loved dreaming but would also work at doing things and achieve them, and kind of overcome like insane odds. But I wouldn't think about the odds or anything like that. I would just like, this is what I want to do, and I'm just going to go and do it. But when you look back and you're less naive, you're like, really?
Yes, I understand that. Yes. Because I've been in business 14 years, and there's sometimes I pinch myself who I'm interviewing or I'm doing what I'm doing, or I'm going to be on a TV show. I'm like, I guess I knew it was always possible. I guess I just didn't. I mean, now that you're doing it, it's like, okay. And for you guys, I mean, an Emmy nomination, that's the top tier for a certain industry. But to get it, even just get a nomination, that's a top tier thing. So that's why I asked that question. And and Rebekah, for you, I mean, just was even getting nominated for Emmy something you? I mean, because I know you come from writing and from journalism, that kind of stuff. But I mean, did you even think that would be possible?
I never really thought about it, to be quite honest with you. So James went to film school. He went to USC Film School. And when our son Christian was about 6 months old, he's almost 13 now, somebody approached me in a store and was like, oh my gosh, your kids are so cute. You should get them into acting. And I was like, I went to college for theater, but I was like,
okay.
And I told him, and he's like, let's take them. I was all, this is silly. But our oldest daughter, but the very first commercial she went out for was a National Target commercial. Our 3 older girls worked for a long time and then decided it wasn't for them. Our son's 13. He's worked on a lot of shows, Days of Our Lives. He's worked on one we can't talk about yet.
Criminal Minds.
And he's been on Criminal Minds, and
Grey's Anatomy.
He was on Grey's Anatomy, and then he was on 911. So he's done quite a few movies and stuff like that. So, but when I started writing screenplays, I literally wrote them with him in mind. This book, Rekindling Christmas, I specifically wrote a part in there for him. So we decided, we're going to turn this into a movie. It was so, my son could have fun in it too. It was obviously because we loved the story, but it was also so he could do some acting in it. He plays TJ, the main character's son. And so for me, I just write. I mean, everything I write is either from the heart, it's truly inspired, or it's because I just feel like I need to write it. Like it's writing comes to me differently. I have a character in my head that comes to the front and says, this is who I am, and this is my story, and you need to write it. And I say, very nice. I have 200 other characters wait in line. And some of them say, no, my turn is right now.
Yes.
And I have to write their story. Others have been patiently waiting for 6 years. But I started writing in 2013, got published in 2014, started writing screenplays probably about 5 years ago. And no, I didn't ever, I mean, I won awards and stuff for my screenplays before, but I never expected it to be like this. I was shocked, but humbled at the same time because it is a beautiful story.
I mean, and you look at Christmas. Let's talk about Christmas for a second. Because Christmas is lucrative, folks. Christmas, I have a Christmas song. I have two. And every year, because they're very evergreen, every year they pop back into the rotation on Spotify and on Apple. And I get these little royalty checks. I'm like, oh, okay, I like Christmas. But I've been in a Christmas movie with Rebekah Fox. I've done like a few Christmas things. So Christmas is big business. It's something that's every year, especially during this whole last couple of years of problems. People are looking at Christmas to save them, so to speak. So do you think this movie was just right timing also for it to come out? Like around this is the right time for Rekindling Christmas to come out?
I do. I think it has a great message, being able to overcome your past and forgiveness and moving forward and things like that. I teach classes on writing holiday romances, and I just finished up a teaching that online. And the interesting thing about holiday romances is people read them all year long. People read the Christmas romances starting in the summer because they want to start getting into that feeling, and people ask me, well, when should I release my Christmas book? And I say September. Release it in September because you go down to the store, they already have ornaments for sale.
They do. They're starting already. I went to Big Lots the other day.
I went to Michael's to look for Halloween stuff this weekend because Halloween's my favorite holiday.
Mine too.
They had Christmas stuff out and no Halloween. I was like, what is happening here? So, I mean, people love the holidays. They love the feeling that it brings. They love the nostalgia. They love the good feelings in the air and family and love and forgiveness and everything that Christmas and Hanukkah and all the other holidays bring. And they want to feel that all year round. And I think, there's a reason that Hallmark and Lifetime are doing Christmas in July. It's because, and especially now with COVID and everything, people want that hope. They want that inspiration. They want those good feelings that, can come from these kind of movies and books and things like that. Because let's be honest, in a world that's so uncertain, people like to know that there's still good out there.
I agree with you completely, Rebekah. Everything you said is so true. It's they're getting earlier and earlier. They want the Christmas feeling all year long. I did my network. I did a Christmas in June, very successful. People loved it. I did some Christmas programming. They loved it. And I was like, really? I'm not ready yet, but okay. But folks are ready because you're right. It's about the feeling. It's something about Christmas just makes you feel warm and feel good, and people want that. When somebody out in the chat room says Christmas songs in summer, count me in. Yes, Christmas song. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I have folks have Christmas songs out there. I got 3 of them. You can check them out. I mean, they're out year long. Just I noticed around Christmas time they get bigger and bigger. But yeah, so holiday romance, which is what Hallmark does beautifully, and I work with Hallmark and Crown Media. I do a lot of stuff. For you, what is one key to a successful holiday romance book? One thing you have to have in it.
So let me ask you a question.
Oh, ask me. Oh, please, ask me.
As Hallmark standard, or just in my
sorry,
opinion?
just in your opinion, just opinion in terms of you the type of holiday romance novels either you write or suggest. What is one? I'm sorry to clarify that. I just meant to say that Hallmark does it so beautifully, but in general, because there's all kinds of people who do Hallmark.
So there's a lot of things that romance in general, conflict is the number one thing you have to have is really good conflict. But I think in a holiday romance, the one thing people kind of miss sometimes that is just as important is the setting. Christmas has to be its own character.
Yeah.
You have to treat Christmas like a character. You have to develop it like a character. I mean, if you look at Hallmark movies, and I've studied Hallmark movies, there is red and green in every single shot. Christmas is everywhere. Christmas is thrown up on every cabinet in the kitchen, wallpapered all over. I mean, it's everywhere. And so that's the big thing, is to make a holiday romance really a holiday romance. You have to use all five senses, and you have to have it in every single scene. It has to be there. You know, even for people who are Scrooges or Grinches, it still has to be there, you know? So I would say that's probably for a holiday romance. That's the biggest thing, is because you've got to get people who are sitting in 113-degree weather on the beach, drinking a pina colada, the feeling that they're in the snow in New York City, or trapped in a cabin, you know, with somebody else, or you know, at a ski lodge, or wherever it is. And that is the biggest part, is making people feel that.
So when you guys
there's a difference between having a romance that happens around the holidays and having a holiday romance.
That's what I wanted to hear. The distinction. That's the distinction. Yes. So the setting, I figured that was the answer. Possibly the setting has to be the major part of it. You have to mention the snow. You have to mention the jingle bells and mistletoe and all that stuff.
But the plot also has to deal with the holiday. So like in Rekindling Christmas, the heroine doesn't like Christmas.
Yep.
Like, she has a very hard time with Christmas, and you find out why as you go along. So, you know, could I have made it she didn't like Thanksgiving? Sure. Could I have made it she doesn't like Valentine's? Of course. But, you know, it has to be an integral part of the plot. It can't just be set at Christmas time. There has to be something that the plot and the characters interact with Christmas in such a way that it makes Christmas, or whatever holiday you're using, a character in your book.
So I'll share this with you, Rebekah and James, because this is very interesting. My first time out, I wrote a series called Mistletoe Road. Came out last Christmas time, and it was very successful, an audio drama. And I was wondering, it's funny, I wish I had met you before that, but I was wondering, what I did was I made Christmas. So these three people who are from Los Angeles go to sleep and wake up in Christmas City. So essentially, and I'm thinking back, I did okay, because literally Christmas is the theme throughout the whole series. One doesn't care for Christmas. One loves Christmas. One loves the lights and smells of Christmas. Like it is like something. I did okay there. Rebekah and James are right. Then I did okay there, because it was my first time out. Because I always wondered how that works. It has to be like it's a separate character, but. So I think I did okay. I'm very proud of the series, but it was my first time writing something Christmas.
That's awesome.
Related, so it's kind of fun. But I thought but it's kind of a comedy twist a little bit too. Of just like, what would you do if James and Rebekah woke up in Christmas City? Like, you just were not in Los Angeles anymore. So that made it fun. That's why people liked it. It was kind of like, what would you do? Like, you're in a Hallmark movie all of a sudden. What do you do? So it's been a lot of fun. So we're doing season 2. We're gonna do the season 2, but you gave me something to think about as I'm about to write season 2. So you gave me something to think about. It's very cool. So Rekindling Christmas. So your son is in it. You were mentioning it was vehicle for your son. He is in it. As parents, how do you? He's an actor, but he's your son. This is your project. How do you even compartmentalize all that? How do you even work with all that?
Well, we have a really good relationship, and we communicate really well, and our son is very intelligent. He's very intuitive. So, you know, if something's not working, we just talk to him about it, and he gets it. He understands, you know, but if you don't explain to him what the problem is, he just gets very frustrated. I think, James can talk more to directing, Christian.
Yeah,
for me, you know, as a producer, it's a little bit difficult, because I was production designer and I was producer, and I'm mom of talent, and you have to wear all those different hats, you know.
Yes.
And there are times when I would have to look at him and be like, no, dude, you got to do this. Get up. We have to go. Okay. And then there are other times where, you know, as a mom, I can say, he's done. That's it. We can't do anymore. He got sick on the very last night of shooting, and he shot till about 2 a.m., bundled up. I was holding him in blankets and stuff. He'd get up, he'd do his shots, he'd come back, and the last one with tears in his eyes. And I just said, you know, I had to take off producer hat and just say, I'm the mother of talent. Mother of talent says he's done. We're done. That's it. He's going back to the hotel. And I don't necessarily love having to do that. But you know, at the end of the day, my first job is I'm a mom. Like
Yeah.
I love screenwriting, I love producing, I love production design. My kids are my world. And so if it comes down to choosing, I'm going to choose my kids, you know, and what's best and safest for them always.
Always.
So, but James can talk about directing, Christian.
Yeah, I want to know that. You want to know that. Yeah.
And just to kind of talk a little bit more to that instance as a director, I have to always be in tune with the actor and what they need in order to really get the performance that they have in them out. And if they need extra time to prepare, you know, because it's a very serious scene, they're going to need to pull out, you know, something from, you know, kind of the depths inside them. You got to give them more time. Or if it takes more time to recover after an emotional scene where they're just like bawling, and that you've got to give them that time to reset. Or if you've got to ask for that again because you need a second take or a third take because you need to do a different camera angle because you're only shooting one camera, you're not shooting 3 cameras. Now you're taxing them quite a bit, and so you have to be very strategic in what you actually shoot. So you have to be sensitive to the actors and what they're going through in order to provide this incredible performance for the screen and for the audience on there. And so, you know, you have to say, hey, are you done? Do you need what do you need? How can I help? You know, do you want to just reschedule this? Or, you know, and everybody is very conscious about the cost of, because you have an entire cast and crew that are all waiting on you. And so everybody's conscious of that, of the cost that's involved and the time and all of that. And so like Christian did not want to leave set. He did not want to postpone delivering and that. But now I've got to jump to the other thing and realize at the time he was 11 that we were shooting this. And this wasn't like he just started acting that year.
Right.
He'd already been acting for 10 years.
Wow.
So he was a veteran,
Right.
serious veteran, serious work that he had done already, incredible, you know, including, a reoccurring role on Grey's Anatomy with an incredible arc and stuff like that. So in Parker Jonas on Days of Our Lives, so, you know, he had all the professionalism behind him.
Yeah, he was a professional. He was trained. He's a professional. Yeah,
exactly. More experience than a lot of the adults on there, and more disciplined than a lot of the adults. So you got to realize that too, you know. And so for us, you know, as parents, we also know the capability of our son Christian, as well as professionals. We know his capability as well, and so you just have to have both hats on, kind of switching back and forth. The same way that parents and producers or directors would on a normal set, but you're having to play both hats. So
I'm sure
of that.
I'm sure you concurrently, you're always a parent. Like she just said, you're always a parent first. I mean, that's number one. But secondly, you're also a producer, a director. You have there's child labor laws. They can only work so many hours. They have to have. Is there a person on set for school? I know all that. I produce that. I know all that stuff. Goes at home. There's a lot that goes on when you have kids, when you work with kids, or people who are under 18. There are certain things have to be protocols in place to have when they're there. So you have to be mindful of all that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have arguments with myself all the time. You know, between me being the director and me being the producer, I'm like going back and forth on there and saying, "Oh, I really want this. This is going to be amazing." It's like, dude, are you crazy? We don't have budget for that. Like, tone it down. It's like, but it'll raise the value of the film. It's like, oh, you're right, it will. Okay, but how much will it raise the value of the film? So I'm like ping ponging back and forth. Rebekah does the same thing as writer and director. You know, when it comes to locations. You know, and how many locations she's writing in. The producer's like, you can't do
that. It's a lot of work, folks. When you do it, when you have all those hats you're wearing. So that's great. That's wonderful. And And I was going to ask you, you guys are a couple, and you're working together. So how did you navigate that, especially Rekindling Christmas? How did you navigate that? It was your first film together. You look at each other. I love it. That's right there. That's it right there, everybody. That's the look right there. I love it. I love it. That's the answer.
We've been married for 23 years. So, and James and I have done all kinds of different things together. We've worked on all kinds of different businesses together. So it wasn't a stretch, you know. He knew the story. I knew the story. He liked the story. I liked the story. He knew what needed to be done. He knew what my vision was. I knew what his vision was. In that regard, we're very blessed that we have a cohesive vision usually for everything. He's very much a visual learner. And when I read stories or scripts or something to him, he sees it visually, and I write very visually. And part of that is because of him. But part of it is because I just see everything as a movie in my head anyway. So when it came down to it, doing this, it wasn't hard to divide up who was going to do what. I'm fine with him directing and me taking a back seat and me doing, you know, costumes and wardrobe and set design and all that stuff. And I did the major first rounds of all the casting and weeded everything out and brought everybody down to, you know, a few, and then I would show them to him and we discussed what we thought. It just, you know, it works very well. We have kind of, I know what he's good at, he knows what I'm good at, and we just kind of complement each other. There's no real fighting, oh, I wanted to do that, you know, because
right.
Yeah,
I don't want to do what he does. I'm happy creating. I like to create. So I like the creative end of things, you know, and I'm good staying in my lane and doing what I do. So
I love it. I love it. Yes, James.
Yeah, and you know, so we really do complement each other. Rebekah's phenomenal at you know, production design and really kind of picking out those things that ideally that I want, and then when, you know, the set is being dressed, you know, I'll be like, well, love this. Let's amp it up over here. This is the way that we're going to frame it on there, because she doesn't always know the way that we're going to frame it. And so we'll walk that through as a team and stuff. And for me, I've already have like the film cut in my head. So I can already see stuff, and folks will be like, well, do we need coverage of this? And I was like, no, we don't. We're not going to use those shots at all. We're going to use this, and it's going to cut like this. And so that, I mean, we had like one of the films, I was just, a cinematographer was like, okay, this is going to take us, you know, like 3 hours for this. And I was like, no, well, this is going to take us like 15 minutes. And he's like, what? And I was like, it's going to be one shot and we're going to shoot it like this. Everything is going to go, here's the blocking and then done. And sure enough, one take.
Yeah.
And my editor's like, there's only one shot for the entire scene. I was like, yeah, that's the shot we want.
Right. Slow. We got it.
Like, it's perfect with his like boom, boom, like this, and it slides right on in, and it works perfectly in that film. So, you know, it's great when everybody kind of is, you know, has an idea of what's going on and is on board for the team. And so working together has always been a huge blessing for us.
So that's great that you guys have the same vision, though. I think that's kind of key, so that you both are seeing the same thing, so you can both work towards it and make it happen. Just go, okay, we got to do whatever to get there. We got to do these things to get there. We both see it. It's in the distance. We see it. And for you saying, you know, James saying that you have this kind of already locked in your brain, it's almost like a Rolodex. You just go back to the scene. I know I'm aging myself, folks. Rolodex, whatever. But it's like a Rolodex, like click, 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 and then you go, that's what I want for this scene. Is that kind of like it's like you just pull it out, right? And then you just.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's like I just flipped to the scene. I just need to know what scene we're on, and I flipped to the scene, and I was like, okay, yeah, I know how this is. I know how this is all going to cut together, and so we'll make adjustments, you know, when we're on set, because whenever you're in an environment, like for me, I'll see the environment, you know, give me kind of ideas of how we can maybe take advantage of that environment and cut it a little bit differently, so we can maximize the space in which we have on there and the talent that we have. So that's always exciting to me, and to be flexible. And we've had it where we had to change locations on one because of COVID. So we ended up changing locations.
Okay.
We had to kill a location, and that afternoon just subbed in a different one, and then rotated to a replacement one the next day, and just adjust, and that worked perfectly. So.
Well, that's the business. Sometimes you have to be flexible. Sometimes you just have to, shit happens, right? And you have to work it out.
Oh yeah, Rebekah's like rewritten a scene. She's like, "Oh, just give me 5 minutes," and she comes back 5 minutes later, and she rewrote a whole scene, and it's like, "Okay, awesome, this works. I love it. Let's go."
I love it. I do. I love it. But is there anything you each have learned about each other? You've been married 23 years. Is there one thing you're like, wow, okay, I like that about him, or I like that about her that you didn't know in the beginning?
I don't know that I didn't know it, but I guess it's the first time firsthand I got to witness when he's directing, he's focused, hyper focused on what he's doing. He's focused on that. Nothing else is in the world. It's that. And so, I would come up and be like, hey, there's this thing in the corner over here, or hey, what if we do this? Or you realize that person's not where, little things, because he's so focused on what he's doing that I sometimes have to come in and be like, hey, we need to do this, or hey, this is what time it is, or, these people are leaving, or whatever it is, because he's he's in the zone. He's in his movie zone, and he's in the world. In his head, he's in the world, and this is where he's at. And so I think that's the first time I've ever really seen him like that. But it's because of his passion. It's what he loves to do. I could disturb him while he's making a house, and he'd be like, "Oh, hi, what's going on? What are you doing?"
Yes.
I could disturb him while he's on the computer, and he'll be like, "Oh, you needed something." But, because it's just, when you have kids, you learn you have to be flexible like that.
Oh, yes.
Especially homeschooling kids, because we homeschool our 4 kids, and they're coming at you at all times. You never know what's coming through the door. And so, or when they're going to need you to read something to them, or help them with something, or want food, or, so that was different for me. That was a little bit different for me to see him that's so focused on something like that.
And James, what, Rebekah?
I guess so. Rebekah, I didn't realize that how having nothing to do will drive her insane. like most people on set, when they have some downtime, they're like, oh, rest, breathe a minute, and I'm okay. And Rebekah, no, if she has a day or two on set that she's not doing anything, she's literally going to go insane.
I'm like you, Rebekah. I'm like you.
So, which, for me, I was I already knew how much how many hats she was wearing. Yeah. And so I try and be conscientious of how much I pile on to people, because if they say that they can handle it, I will pile stuff on. Yeah. I was like, oh, how much you want? Okay, I'll give you more,
Yes.
And I was like, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
But for her, being, the main person who was the parent of child star on set, because for me, I was directing and producing, so I couldn't focus on Christian whatsoever on there, except for when he was right before in front of camera and in front of camera, and then kind of in between shots there, and then to also be the writer, and then also to be the production design, and that. But at the same time, I was wanting to bring her into the world of directing and show her some of the things in directing, but I realized how much I was asking her to do, because I was getting 3 hours on average of sleep a day on there, for 2 weeks straight. I don't ask that of anybody else. That is what I have to do if I'm wearing the director's hat and the producer's hat. That's just life on there in a compressed time frame of a 2-week shoot or less.
Yeah.
On there. But you were totally down for it. Like you're like, I'm going crazy, not doing anything. I was like, really? Okay, well, come on over.
On in.
And it's like, sit down here and let's actually talk about the shots and start going through these and why we're making these choices and what we're doing, and really bring her up to speed on directing, which I really, really wanted to do because she's extremely talented. And I want to share what I know with her the same way that she shares what she knows with me. And that's just how partners are, that are best friends. You want to share the things that you're excited about and passionate about with each other. And, you were willing to do that on top of everything else. So I didn't realize, this is a long-winded answer. So sorry.
I love it. I love this. This is exactly what I wanted. I love it.
But I didn't realize how passionate she was about being involved in every aspect and willing to be so taxed or busy or with everything. And so that was an added bonus for me. It really was.
Great.
I think that was the only argument we had on Rekindling Christmas. It was like a day or two in, and I just lost it. I was like, nobody needs me for anything. Why am I just sitting here? Why did I come out here? I got nothing to do. And he got me an assistant, and literally after like 12 hours, I was like, put her in a different department. I don't have anything for her to do. The girl's standing around. I feel terrible for her.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm not going to tell her to do anything. And he's like, tell her to get you a drink. I'm like, no, I'll just do that myself. Like, I'm not going to have a girl standing around 12 hours just hoping I ask her to do something. Like, it's so weird. So yeah, I'm just used to doing. Yeah. Even at home, I homeschool my kids, and I write, and I drive them everywhere, and I teach classes, and I cook and I clean, and we have a ton of pets, and it's like we have church stuff and we have other community stuff we do, and it's just like I'm always doing, always going, always working on something.
Rebekah doesn't have any issues about control, just so you know. But I will say, she has a whole arrangement of capes that she wears around because she really is, Wonder Woman. So
yeah, no, I was gonna say, I changed my dialogue. I think language is very important. I'm sure Rebekah, you feel the same way. Where I love words and things, and I changed. So I said, I don't say stay-at-home moms anymore. I say house managers. I say, CEOs of the house. I mean, mothers really do. Yes, some fathers. I don't want to get myself in trouble. Some fathers, but a lot of mothers are used to wearing hats like that from birth of their first child, and that's what they do. They take care of the schedule. You're scheduling all the dentist appointments and doctor's appointments, and if someone's playing sports over here, and if they make sure that's taken care of, and that schedule's going, and
taping auditions,
and
memorizing auditions,
and he said, and feed them. He said, feed them. You got to feed the kids. I got to do that.
I'm like, teach them to feed themselves as early as you can.
I said the same thing. No, my daughters could go to at 4 years old, could go to the refrigerator and pour up milk and cereal. That's a start. Gives me 5 extra minutes to lay in bed. That's fine.
This is how you cook. These are the different meals you can cook. By the way, laundry's down the hall.
Exactly.
Here's how you do it.
My sister has 6 kids and twins that are under a year old, and sometimes she just comes to me and she's like, I didn't do anything today. I'm like, are the twins still alive? And she's like, yes. I'm like, you accomplished your goal for the day. You kept 2 humans alive that could not keep themselves alive. That is a win. That is a win. And there are days then that's the win. The win is that everybody's still alive.
Yeah.
Everybody's still breathing. You did good.
I agree with that completely. Now I'm a grandparent, so I get to just see him and go about my business. I love him. I rile them all up and then I leave. So that's my job. Okay, so I want to ask you the one thing I always like to ask everybody, because I haven't had this before. I mean, I've been nominated for awards, but I've never been nominated for an Emmy. Where were you when you found out you were nominated?
I was on set as a production designer for a movie with Amy Smart and Jed Hirsch. And
oh, really? Oh, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was sitting there and I checked my texts and I read it. And I read it again. And I kind of read it a third time and I was like, I don't think my brain's awake yet this morning. I don't think I'm understanding what this is saying. And so I showed it to my friend and I said, what does this say? And she says, it says that you're nominated for an Emmy. And I was like, that is what it says. And she says, yes, that is what it says. So then I called him and I'm like, we're nominated? And he was like, yeah, we are. I couldn't believe it. I was like in shock all day long. I was on cloud nine and in shock at the same time. But I remember just thinking, okay, read it slower. Okay, read it slower. Okay, one word at a time. Computer in your head.
Okay, Rebekah.
One word
Okay,
at
girl.
a time. We are nominated for an Emmy.
Right.
Okay, that's what it says. I can't misread it 3 times.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
But
and
he was even funnier.
Okay, James, tell me, how did you find out my namesake? How did you find out?
So, it was funny because I had one of our lead actor call me and he was like, hey, when are they doing the announcements? It's like, oh, Monday at 9 a.m. It's like, okay. And then Monday at 9 a.m. rolled around and I didn't even bother, to watch the nominations because I was like, oh, I know how fierce the competition is this year. Like I thought we had a chance. And then I was like, oh no, we're going to get crushed. Like there's no way. Total crush. Yeah. And then I got a call and they're like, congratulations on your nomination. And I was like, ha ha, funny. It's, and I swear, I thought that they were trying to like punk me. So I was like, okay, you've got to send me over a link to an official site or
I don't believe that. Yeah, come on, people. Yeah,
no third party or anything like that. Like it's got to be one of the big, outlets or the Academy itself. And sure enough, they sent the link on over. I looked at it and there it was. I was just like, just like the world froze. My jaw dropped.
I'm sure. Oh my goodness.
So just dumbfounded, definitely in awe and honored that all of our colleagues thought that that Rekindling Christmas, that we were in the top 5 for the entire year of all the programs created that were in our category. Like what an honor. That to me just the gravity hit me and I was really just grateful, really grateful.
You just said something that's very important for people to understand is that, there's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of movies. There's a lot of actors. There's a lot of directors. I mean, people, and now with streaming and people doing things on their own, there's all kinds of possibility now. I mean, I guess seriously, when I first started, it was not like this. Now
more than ever.
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, which is also, it's great also. There's 2 sides to it, but the one side to it is there's a lot of content out there now. So to stand out, it's a little harder now to stand out. So congratulations. It shows that like you said, your work, all the things we just talked about for the last, 40 minutes or so, all that hard work, people looked at it and went, that's good enough.
And it was from all of our peers
right
in the industry. So it wasn't just, arbitrarily, a few judges or anything like that, but it's from our peers.
Yeah.
That meant a lot.
Yeah.
That they chose out of everything, for Rekindling Christmas or us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's congratulations. So you have No More Goodbyes. That's another thing going on. So can you talk about that at all?
No More Goodbyes is a screenplay that I wrote about 2 interracial foster brothers that after their foster mother dies, they run away together to keep from being split up by the system. The younger of the 2 is played by our son, Christian. He has PTSD. He's on spectrum. He has a bunch of disorders and issues. And Jaquan Jackson, who's absolutely amazing, plays Mark, his older foster brother, who takes care of him and is trying to provide a life for him while they're running away from the foster care system and trying to stay hidden. And they end up breaking down in this little town. And it's about what makes a family. Is family the people that you're born with and blood related to, or is family the people you sacrifice for? And it talks about the foster care system. It talks about adoption. It talks a lot about aging out of the foster care system, what happens to the kids who age out. And it talks about these two brothers and the bond that they have that is so close that they would do anything to be together. That one right now is in post-production. James can tell you a little bit more about where that's at.
Yeah, and not a lighthearted comedy, apparently.
It's got its lighthearted moments. It definitely does.
I got I got little tears behind my eyes already.
Yeah, it's definitely not a cheesy holiday romance.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So that's the interesting thing. Is Rekindling and Christmas is definitely lighter and that, but it has its serious moments that'll like make you tear up, and that. No More Goodbyes is the opposite. It's a very serious film that will, if you're not crying in it, you have to really see your doctor and see if you have a heart on there.
Dead inside. Dead inside. Yes, exactly.
But it does have these light moments in there and these really great, fun, moments to it. So it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum in that aspect. And it starts out in LA and then, the end up breaking down in the small town in Texas. But that one, we're in post-production. We're in the final stages on there. And it's one of those films that it just means so much to us. Yeah. We put every ounce of ourselves into it. If we had to compare it to anything, it would be like our Sistine Chapel. It's that legacy that we would leave behind. And of course, with everything, the first rule of or commandment of entertainment is thou shalt not bore. So we always are going to make sure that our content entertains. That's the first thing. But this one was even more rewarding than Rekindling Christmas because it really touches on something that needs some social change.
Yeah.
On there. And it was something that, we're like 5 years into it now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's something we've been passionate about for a really long time. And it's just now that Hollywood considers this type of material commercial. 5 years ago, this was not commercial. They loved it. Yeah. They would read it. They would give us amazing reviews. They would even write us letters of how much they liked it, that we could then use, for, attaching other people to it and that. But it was just really difficult.
They didn't know what to do with it.
They didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. And now the market has actually come up to where we are, which is really exciting for us with all the stuff that we're doing to see the market come up to where we've been this whole time.
I would ask you, is part of the key of staying in the business and creative by doing this, not doing the same project back to back, by having a project that's this way and then having a project that's this? I was always I don't wonder if that's something that keeps it going too, kind of like you're not working on you're not churning out the same machine of projects over and over. You're not doing the same 5 films over and over again. One was one experience. This one's a very different experience. Does that help with the creative stuff?
We have about 15 Christmas movies that are in the works.
All right, girl. That's okay. Go on, Queen of Christmas. Okay.
But we've also been attached to a large universe type project that has a lot more to do with the kind of things I write, my books, vampires, werewolves, zombies type stuff. And then I've been asked to write a screenplay for something that's more in the vein of No More Goodbyes. So, it just kind of little bits of everything. And I think, like you said, Christmas is big money. if you do a really great Christmas film, you're going to find people who just want you to keep pumping out Christmas films because, you know, Hallmark did
100
over 300 films
yes.
last year
I
or
was gonna
something.
say, yeah, it was like one season it was 100 and something. The next season it was like they added 90 more to
And
it.
now you have Lifetime that's doing them, and you have Pureflix that's doing them, and you have Up TV that's doing them, and you have Amazon and Netflix. You know, you have all these people who want them now. So it is something that we could probably do for the rest of our lives if we wanted. It's not that we don't want to. It's just that we have so many other projects. My first book, Dead Awakenings, which is getting ready to be re-released. We're making it into a graphic novel, and we're shopping that around as a pilot. So, you know, there's just so many different. I mean, we love Star Wars, and we love fantasy, and we love, you know, paranormal, and we love so many different things that just doing one type of thing, I don't think would.
Heck, I was just having lunch with a friend that is executive in charge over at Lego, and I'm like, dude, I'd love to do a Lego, you know, TV show or movie.
Oh, I know. You know? I love those. The
Batman. So it's like our interests are so wide and diverse on there. And the thing is you hear this all the time, that actors want to, you know, stretch their muscles and do different things. And writers want to do that too. And obviously directors, and they're like, oh, I've already done that, I want to do it again. And of course, Hollywood loves to gather a certain audience together. And then once they've gathered them together, they want to keep on feeding them the same thing, just a little different, you know, because it's a great financial model on there. And so they want to keep you in that pigeonhole is kind of where they want to keep you, but talent doesn't want to stay there. Talent's always wanting to do something different.
Oh, that's true.
But we find that there's a way to do both, you know, on there. So we're more than happy to do both. So, you know, but our Christmas films are obviously going to be, each one's going to be different, you know, that we do. But for us, well, we hate being bored. So
I understand.
So we're always going to be doing lots, you know.
You're my kind of people. No, trust me.
But if you're only doing maybe one film every, you know, 5 years or whatever, like, yeah, you're going to be pigeonholed. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But if you want to do tons of things, it's like, yeah, sure, you can have these going and then these going over here and stuff like that. So
I'm like you guys, trust me. That's not like I got things going. My hand tentacles are in everything. I love it. I mean, it's just more. I'm like Rebekah. I like to be busy. I do, creatively busy. I mean, I don't be busy for busy's sake. I like being involved in different things, and then see them come to fruition. It's wonderful.
But I think overall, our biggest thing is what our brand is really characters, really in three-dimensional, interesting characters that are on a journey, and all of them are on a journey to become whole. And sometimes what they set out to become whole is not what they need to become whole.
I got
on there. And so that for us is where the excitement comes, is really, well, Rebekah was saying earlier, she's got like 100+ characters in her head screaming, hey, write my story. It's always about characters for us. That's what excites us, is these characters and their arc and their story. Like, that to us is so interesting. And for me, the communication or miscommunication and all that happens between the characters, I just find so fascinating.
I love it. I do. I love it. I totally relate. I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so can they find Rekindling Christmas anywhere? Where can they get that?
Yeah, at any time, anybody can go to rekindlingchristmas.com, and that will always say the latest and greatest places that you like to be patronizing or be your patronage to, you know, whether, you know, it be Amazon or Vimeo or Google or iTunes, or wherever it is, the latest on there, you know. And if we have, you know, any special events coming up, to watch it on the big screen, like we're at the Burbank Film Festival coming up here September 11th. Actually, I need to put that on the website. I'll do that at 3 o'clock. We're going to be there on the big screen, the AMC 16.
Okay.
And then we'll have other special events and stuff that'll be available as well.
And we have No More Goodbyes coming out at some point, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, that one we'll be submitting to Sundance, so keep our fingers crossed on there. That would be absolutely fabulous. We're in the final stages of post. That's what I was talking about before. So I've got our composer that worked on Rekindling Christmas is working on No More Goodbyes on there, sound design, and then of course color correction so that it just looks beautifully, and the night shots look like night and the day shots look like day.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Yes. No, I'm going to say it. I want to timestamp it right now. You will be in Sundance. I'm not at Sundance, I'm not at committees or nothing, but I think just talking to you guys this last hour, I could totally see it happening. So I'm going to manifest it for you.
Thank you. We've had some really interesting folks, that we've been talking with about, corporate partnerships and that. For No More Goodbyes, which is amazing just because the story really resonates so well. And whenever we've shown a couple clips, like they're on board. They're like, I get it. It's no longer a script and words. They can see visually exactly what we're talking about. And what we say is matched, not just equally, but even more so when they see it visually. To where we're really excited with the partnerships that are coming on board.
Well, James and Rebekah, I know you guys do 10,000 100 things. I know it's not correct English, but you do 1,000,000 100,000 cajillion things. So thank you for spending time with me for this last hour. You guys are both lovely, and I'm so excited to follow you more now and figure out and to see as you guys go along and be here for the journey. And come back on the show anytime to promote whatever it is. You come back and promote No More Goodbyes when it starts getting hit in places. Come back and promote it, and we're going to talk about it because I want to see it. I can't wait to see it, and we're going to talk about it. So I'm very excited. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Everybody, so rekindlingchristmas.com. Go there and go check out this film. It's Christmas every day for us. So go ahead and check it out and get it. Support them. Get it. I'm James Lott Jr. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And if you're watching this, share with other people. Please tell everybody about this episode. Pass it along. Some great nuggets were also given if you're trying to get into film and in production, and some good stuff that they shared today. You can follow me where all James Lott Juniors are sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms and on TikTok. Yeah, I'm on there too. We'll see you guys next time.